Today I'm going to be exposing how I became a straight A student. We are officially in the back to school season, and that means becoming an academic weapon. It's a necessity, it's a must, and I'm going to show you guys how I became one and how you are going to become one too. I'm going to be sharing a bunch of methods and hacks that I use to be on top of my work, but also balance having a life outside of school. And of course, most importantly, how I got those straight A's. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am not someone who's naturally smart. I had to work for every single A that I ever got in my life. But I will say that here's a picture of my master's transcript. I got straight A's through the entire program. So let's get into it. So obviously you're probably asking, who is this girl and why is she even giving me this advice? Well, number one, hi you guys, my name is Pooja. If you're new here, if you are returning, thank you so much for being here. After high school, I went on to do an undergraduate degree in biomedical sciences, and then I did my master's degree at the University of Toronto in education, which I just completed by the way, so I'm glad. But I'm also actually going back to school to do the Master's of Teaching program, also at University of Toronto. So your girl has been in school for way too many years, and I'm so excited to be done in 2 years from now. But apart from that, I want to let you in on a secret. The reason I'm making this video is because there was a time where your girl wasn't an academic weapon, and it wasn't in high school. It was actually specifically in my second year of university. If you asked me to admit that all those years ago, there's no way that I would have said that I was putting that out on the internet. But I've learned that it's really nothing to be embarrassed of, and I just want to help you guys. I think it's really important to go back to that mindset and that era that I was in and really address the things that I lacked and what I was struggling in, because I was perfectly fine in high school, and then I got to university and I was like, what is happening? So I wanted to share what I did to get my ass back on track. COVID did kill a lot of my good habits, but I'm going to be sharing with you guys everything that I used and everything that I do now in order to make my studying and school experience the best it can be. Alright, first thing on the agenda, the mindset of an academic weapon. So one thing I tell myself every year before the school year starts is that I need to go into all of this with a very open mind. Now, even with myself, I'm going into a whole new program, and I think it's really important to tell yourself, I do not know everything, nor do I need to know everything going into whatever school year you are going into. It sounds silly. I would hate myself for not knowing some of the things that I was learning, or maybe not capturing it or understanding it quicker than other people would be. But having this mindset is so important. You have to have the growth mindset. In your head, there should be no actual definition of what a failure is. Replacing the word failure with growth. I think why this was so life-changing for me, and I think it will be for all of you as well, is because when you make that mindset switch, you're kind of telling your brain, there's no such thing as failure. I'm gonna go into this. There's gonna be bumps on the road, but all of this is just the pathway to success. You don't understand a math concept right away, you're not a failure. You're growing, you're learning, you're getting towards success. It might sound cheesy and you're probably like, girl, I just have to get the A, tell me what to do. I get it. I have been there, I get it. But I think constantly worrying about your grades really makes it tough to actually absorb what you're learning. It took me far too many years to learn that, and I think that's another reason why I struggled so much through the first 2 years of my undergrad. I was so focused on, I have to get an A, I have to get an A, I have to go do this and that, and like this is what, these programs are gonna look for. Trust me, I did not get all A's throughout university, and I'm here doing my second master's of my lifetime. Don't worry, don't worry. I know that so much of your life is consumed through what do I get in this class, and making these grades kind of value your success and who you are as a person. I know that it's really difficult, especially if you're brown and your parents are super hard on you, because I experienced that again, but they know nothing better than having a good education means that you're going to be having a good life ahead of you so that you can get a job and whatnot. Tell yourself that you are here for the growth and you're here for the path that takes you towards success. Number 2 is actually understanding that discipline will always outdo your motivation. Now hear me out on this. You can be as motivated as you possibly can be, but if you don't have the discipline that's there to help actually push that motivation and make it into a thing, you're gonna be sitting there in this cycle that is like a vicious, terrible cycle of you just being motivated but not being able to do anything about it. It's a weird feeling because you're like, I know I can do it. Like I know that I can sit there and learn this and I have the motivation to do it, but I just don't have the discipline of sitting there and doing it. Does that make sense? Now, if you've ever felt like this in your entire life, what you're actually lacking here is discipline, and I'm gonna show you guys how I fixed it and how you are going to as well. And the number one way to fix this is actually building a routine. That could look like you coming home from school, taking a 30-minute break, and then getting straight to your schoolwork and then having the night off to yourself. If you can build yourself a good routine, even if it's like you have a certain routine set for each day of the week, you do whatever you need to do. But for example, I would come home from school and I would say, okay, I'm gonna give myself 45 minutes to chill. And what I would do during then is either be on my phone, or I would say, okay, you can watch an episode of the show that you're watching right now, and also I would, eat something so that I didn't get hungry later. Then after that episode was done, or after my 45 minutes of free time was done, I would walk over to my desk, sit down, and lock in. Another thing that I did to push myself during this time is I would really tell myself, like, all you have to do is lock in from September to April, or September to June if you're in high school. That's it. Okay, it's just like, it was like a game in my head. I'm like, okay, for these next like 8-9 months, you just have to be this person, this version of yourself, and then during the summer, you don't have to be like that at all. Even though you will be, because you're gonna build this discipline and these routines that are gonna follow you forever, but you just have to tell yourself that. Next thing we're gonna be talking about are the strategies that I use to actually get those A's, but also to get myself to be the academic weapon that I was. Number one, the most important, and the question that I get asked probably once a week by my friends, my followers, and all of you guys, is just that, how do you manage your time? Time management is such a valuable thing to have, and an asset actually that you should always be urging to look forward to. It's because it's what's gonna lead the rest of your life. Now, especially when you're in school, you need to have time management locked into your hands, because if not, you're really going to struggle with getting your tasks done on time. And I think what makes it even more difficult is if you don't use things like time blocking or an agenda or a planner or whatever it might be. For me, majority of the time my agenda has been on my notes app. It's just filled with a bunch of bullet points of things that I need to do. Actually, more bullet points, it's like a checklist. And I love putting every little thing that I need to do on there, from like, you know, car wash, clean your bedroom, put it into that agenda, because I feel so productive when I have put those into my to-do list and I get to check everything off. Similarly, what I'll do is I'll write down every little task that I have to do for every single class, and what I'll do at the beginning of the week, usually on a Sunday night, is I will take some time to go on my agenda or go on my planner or my calendar and look at the week ahead of me. I'm looking at the week, I'm looking at how much time do I have on certain days. Do I have an event on one day? Do I have another extracurricular that I have to attend to? And I'm making use of the time. And I'm not just going into every single day blind. I think that is what a lot of people do. They just kind of wake up every day and they're like, okay, I'm gonna do this, this, and this. I know that that works for some people, but I think a lot of people are really struggling with the fact that they just feel like there is not enough hours in the day. Guys, I time manage to like the minute, and I still feel like there's not enough hours in the day. So I think that if you guys are time blocking and time managing the days that you have in the week, you're really gonna benefit from that. Now I'm gonna say, okay, 5 to 6 p.m. we're gonna watch our show, right? Relax from the day, kind of rejuvenate, get the energy back. 6 to 7 p.m. I'm gonna be working on my biology class. 7 to 8 p.m. I'm gonna be working on my English class. 8 to 9 p.m. I'm doing, you know, maybe I'm gonna take a break and take a shower and do some self-care stuff. Come back, let's do a little 9:30 to 11:30. We're gonna be doing some note taking, for instance. Time blocking by the hour really changed my life. It's something I've been doing since high school, and it's the question I get asked the most, especially being a full-time creator, but also being in school. That is the number one thing. Okay, number two, study hacks. We all know where this is. I'm gonna go in depth in the other section about this as well, but I wanna say that active recall is going to be your best friend. If you don't know what active recall is, it's basically you are testing yourself as you're learning the subject. Teaching any material back to yourself is another thing that I did. Use your resources, and your resources are the people that you meet along the way. Number three are classroom habits. This is going to be funny to hear for a lot of you, but I would sit at the very front. I was that stereotype, you know? I was that girl that sat all the way in the front, partially because I couldn't see the board if I sat at the back. Like, I am pretty blind. You sitting at the front tells your professor or your teacher that you are here, you're ready to learn, and also prevents you from getting distracted. You cannot be sitting there texting on your phone if you're front and center. Sitting in the front really helped me be present in the classroom, so I think that that's something I would also recommend. This one is so obvious, but obviously taking the notes in your own words. What this looked like for me is that I would take notes of whatever the hell the teacher was saying in that moment, especially if you were in a university lecture. You know that you can't be sitting there trying to paraphrase everything the teacher's saying. You just have to type down whatever the teacher's saying, and then I would go home, and while I was doing practice or studying, I would kind of rewrite everything that I wrote into my own words. It's very incredibly time consuming, but it's so worth it, especially if you're in really lecture heavy classes. This is gonna save you. And the third one is actually asking one question to either your professor or a friend that you have in the class at least once a week. Sorry guys, my camera just died, but what I was saying is that if you just ask a friend in the class a question, you can help reinforce both your learning and their learning. The fourth thing that I want to discuss is lifestyle and having a balance between school and being a person and a human and someone that has other interests in the world. So again, with time blocking, you need to block off time for doing other things that you like. Otherwise, you're gonna feel really burned out. I know that sometimes, especially with certain programs, it can be super content heavy, so you just have to sit there for 5 days a week and really dig in and do your schoolwork. But what I used to like to do was I would use my weekends truthfully just for a weekend. I would really try to time block off enough time during the week to actually be productive, and then the weekends would be for my own fun time, and that will really help you recharge for the week, wherever it resets for you in that week. All right, getting into the juicy stuff. How did I actually get those A's? I'm gonna share 5 things that I did, specific things. Number 1, Quizlet was my best friend throughout my undergrad. Again, I did biomedical science in my undergrad, so that was very content lecture heavy, and anytime that I knew that I had a course like that, immediately Quizlet was my best friend. So I bought Quizlet Premium on and off throughout my degree, and I think that, you know, you can use the free version. It is fully free to use, and they have pretty good features for the free version, but I would use the premium one because you can actually add pictures, which got really helpful for me in my 3rd and 4th year. The way that I would actually recommend using it is, you know, if you have a lecture that you know is really like memorization heavy, after the lecture I would make a quick Quizlet, and then by the midterm time, you would have like 7 or 8 quizzes that you could just study from. That's the way that I like to do it. It really helped ensure that there was enough content for me to actually learn from if I was only using Quizlets to study. Number 2 is having a study buddy. For me, studying with a friend didn't really work. I was someone that just really needed to be in my room, closed door, sitting by myself and studying. So what I did was I would literally teach my stuffed animals. I would pretend to teach a class, and that is how I actually got my memorization in. That's also a form of active recall, by the way. I would be teaching the class without looking at any of my supplies. So if I knew the concept, I was teaching them right. Otherwise, what were they actually listening to? Number 3 is for essays or anything writing heavy, like lab reports, for instance. What I would do is I would write an outline first, always, before I ever did the actual thing. I almost never went into an essay just by starting to write the intro. I would always have an outline. This makes it so easy because once you have the outline, for example, you could spend your lunch hour writing out an outline, and then when you go home, you can just write the essay. You don't even have to think about anything. Very similar to my never film a YouTube video without having a script. Like, I have a script up right now. This script is leading me through filming this entire YouTube video, just like my outline is going to lead me through filming or writing my entire essay. All right, the next one is a little bit silly, but for any multiple choice question, what I would do is I would write down these hypothetical questions. You can also just ask ChatGPT to give you a bunch of multiple choice questions, and then what you're gonna do is write down all of the wrong answers for those multiple choice questions. It's gonna sound really silly, I know, okay? It doesn't make sense a little bit, but for example, if the question is, you know, how many legs does a dog have? You would write 3, 2, 1, 6, and then you're gonna go in and write down the reason why it's not all of those answers. It can really help test your knowledge, and you can see where you're lacking, so then you can go back in and study those specific things. A lot of studying really focuses on deducing what do you know, but what do you not know. We throw away what we know. We gotta focus on what we don't know. And number 5 is before studying any topic, again, this was more specifically helpful for my lecture heavy courses, I would go onto Quizlet and check out if there was a pre-made Quizlet by someone else out there. For example, if it was on a life cycle, I would search it up, and then I would do the Quizlet, and I would make note of all the things that I did wrong or any questions that I got right. And then for all the questions that I got wrong, I would write those down and then actually study those a little bit more when I was studying. And that way you can also gauge where your learning is before you're beginning your studying process. Okay, lastly, all the supplies that you're gonna be needing for your school year. I already posted a vlog actually taking you guys along with me school supply shopping, so I will link that in the iCard if you wanna go watch that. But I want to talk about some practical ones that are really gonna help you, and these are ones that help me. Number 1 is different colored pens for different colored things. For example, I would take a red pen and underline anything that I was particularly confused on, and then I would take a green pen and just make little notes, little stars of things that I already knew. This, again, it helps you gauge your understanding, helps you focus on the topics that you don't know. More importantly, it just helps you see visually, what do I know, what do I not know. Number 2 are sticky notes. So I would use these in class to help draw diagrams that the teacher was pulling up on the slideshow, but you know, might not be in our slideshow or our notes. But also you can use it to write down questions while the teacher is lecturing, and then you can ask the questions later or during the office hours. Number 3 is highlighters. Of course, that is the most obvious thing. You just use it to highlight things that you know, things that you don't know, key terms, all of that stuff. You can color code and use highlighters whatever way that you choose. For me, I mainly used it for key terms, just highlighting terms that I needed to know. Number 4 are index cards, something again that you can use if you don't want to use Quizlet, or also what I used to use index cards for were actually for chemistry. Sometimes you can't draw these molecules, and again, if you don't want to pay for Quizlet Premium, you can't put any images into it. So what I would do is I would go and get an index card, good old fashioned, and I would draw the molecule on one side and the name of it on the other side, and then I would get someone to test me, or I would test myself, whatever it is. Guys, those are all the tips that I actually have for you. I want you all to know that being an academic weapon actually has nothing to do with how smart you are. It's more a mindset and the way that you approach the things that you are confronted with at school. It's all about being intentional and the things that you do to get there. So you got this. Don't worry if you're going back to school this year. Very much good luck. But if you're ready to make this year the smartest year and the year that you become an academic weapon, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more back to school videos. I will see you guys in the next one. You can always catch me anywhere. My username is BluntLikePooja everywhere, but Pooja Theron on YouTube. Also, I would love to hear any other study tips that you have in the comments, so make sure to drop those below, and I will see you guys in the next one.